Alright, welcome to our crafts session again today. Today we're going to be making a really simple one. It's one of my favorites, is a nightlight. Maybe you have a kid that's a little scared of the dark and wants a nightlight. So this is a really great nightlight. It's really beautiful and they make great Christmas decorations as well. You can do all sorts of things with them. You can make them seasonal. They're really awesome. So what you're going to need is a little pot, some kind of a ceramic or glass. Coffee cup works for this. Anything really works, any kind of a planter that you can use. A branch, find a good branch from a tree out in your yard or in a park or something that has, what you want to get is something that has multiple directions so that all the branches aren't going up here on one plane, but if you turn it around you get branches coming this way and this way and this way. So you want something that has several branches that are going different directions to make it look well. And then I picked up one of these from IKEA. This is a little wall decoration they have that has plastic leaves, but you can clip leaves off of any kind of silk plant to use for this and it'll be just fine. Then you want to pick up some of these from Amazon. These are little fairy lights. You can get them in all sorts of different colors. These ones are blue, so we'll turn those on. And they have little watch batteries in the back. And one last thing you'll need is some plaster of Paris or something similar. You could actually use a lot of different things to fill this in and hold it in place. First thing we're going to do is we're going to glue the lights. We're going to use the glue gun and glue these lights, these LED lights, around the branch to distribute them nice and evenly. So that's our first step. Alright, so we've got the lights wired onto the branch. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to get this to put in place so we can add the plaster of Paris to hold that down. So I'm going to use some polymer clay that I had laying around, and I'm going to put that around the base of this to hold it down, but you can use anything. Rubber eraser will do the trick, Play-Doh, anything you've got that'll work as a base to hold that down. Alright, so now we've got our plaster of Paris mixed up here. And I got a little Jenga block. You can use a Lego brick, anything that's going to give you enough space. This is going to stick out a little higher than the plaster so I can pull it out really easily, which is good. And it's plenty wide for that battery pack to fit in there in the space that it will leave. So I'm just going to stick this right over here. And then we'll pour the plaster of Paris in there around everything. So this stuff sets up pretty fast. I really like it because it sets up fast and it's very hard. So we're just going to add it in there. It might be a little messy. And I hope I mixed up enough. Also, I was having a little trouble even with the polymer clay. I was having some issues keeping that tree in the same position. So I just took the glue gun and added, you can see right here, a little dab of glue on the side of the pot and put the cable for the lights in there, and that seemed to do the trick. There we go, and that's plenty of the plaster for that. And this stuff, once it's dry, it's really easy to remove excess and clean it up. So we'll just let it dry like that. I'm going to get my Jenga block placed where I want it, maybe right there. And then that Jenga block will come out really easy, and we'll check back in after that's dried. I've never done one of these using the silk leaves, but I've used the silk leaves on some other projects that we've done for trees, and they look really cool. So this will be the first nightlight that we've done with these. And I'm going to use a combination. Maybe I'll use a couple of the fall leaves and some of these small leaves for this tree. Since it's a smaller tree, we don't want the leaves to be too big. So some of these ones would be just way too big for this project. So I'm going to use the little tiny ones, and we'll see how it comes out. That should be enough leaves for us, and we can glue these on while this is still drying, I hope. It's not going to move around too much. So for the leaves, what we want to do is cut a little notch in the base of the leaf right here so that it can fit comfortably onto the tree branch, and it'll look like it's growing out of the tree. So we're going to take the scissors. I'm just going to cut a little kind of half circle right here at the base. We'll add some glue to that. And this one, let's put this one down here at the base of the tree. Whoop, got some glue on my finger there. I need to get a new glue gun. This one burns too hot, and the glue takes forever to dry because it's so hot. Okay, so there's one. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good now, the way it is. Let's turn on the lights and see how it looks. Really pretty with the lights. And this side over here looks really nice. So as soon as that plaster is dry, we'll put on some moss around the base and finish it up. Alright, so plaster's dry. We're going to start cleaning this up now a little bit here. So the first thing we're going to do is take out the block. We want to do this before it gets completely dry, because it's even harder when it's just about dry. This has been about 15 minutes. I can just wiggle that around a little bit and then slowly pull it out. Now the plaster down beneath is still wet, so you can see a bunch of that pulled out with that. But now I've got a space in there. You can see that's plenty big for the battery pack and the extra wire. And that will still allow us to be able to take the battery pack out and change the batteries when we need to. So there's that. Now I'm just going to clean up around the edges here. Wipe off some of this extra plaster. Again, it's easier when it's still a little bit wet. It comes off much easier. So for the next step, we live near a forest that has lots of moss in it, so we can go up and gather it. But if you can't gather your own moss, you can just buy some craft moss on Amazon. I'll put a link in the video for that, and you can buy the craft moss and the plaster of Paris on Amazon. Have them delivered to your house. since right now we're in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, so these crafts make great things to do with your kids home while you're stuck at home, and you can get all the stuff delivered to you at your house through Amazon. So that's also great, and it'll give you something to do with your kids that they will just love to have for the rooms. All right, so now I've got some not craft moss. I've got some moss that we gathered in the forest. This stuff's really, really good. It stays green forever. We never have to worry about drying out and getting all nasty and brown. So I'm just going to cut a piece of a circle out here to put there, and then we'll use some of this to add to the base of the trunk. So I'm going to do the base first. I'm going to cut out a rough circle. And this stuff just pulls right up off the old dead logs in the forest. Really easy. And so it's nice and flat and easy to cut. So I'll just cut a little kind of a circle out of here. And then I'm going to cut into the middle. I'll put this up here so that I can position that around the tree. And that'll be able to go in there just like that. So now it's time to get this out of the way. In fact, we will tuck it in there where it's going to go. Sometimes the plaster of Paris can leave some water down in there too, so you want to make sure that's dry before you go sticking the battery pack in there. So I'm just going to take a paper towel here and just soak up any extra water that's down in there first. There we go. That way now it's dry enough, it's not going to wreck the batteries. Also, if you buy these fairy lights on Amazon, this kind, I put a little extra bit of glue here to keep the connection secure between the wires and the battery pack, because a lot of times if you're pulling it out and changing batteries, that can work itself loose. So I just put a little bit of glue right there to hold that in place so that doesn't happen. All right, so that plaster is still a little wet, so I'm going to let that dry a little more before I put the glue on, otherwise the glue's not going to hold to it. I'm going to take some of these little extra pieces of moss that I have, and I'm going to use these for gluing around the base of the tree. With the moss, when you're putting the moss on too, if it's not a flat piece, like I just used some extra bits that were laying here on the table, you can put the glue on the tree branch and then pack the moss in around it. You can use extra, and once that glue's dried, we're just going to pull off the loose bits, and then it'll just stick to the tree. Another thing you can do with this is to, instead of using a pot, I've built these trees as part of a landscape piece as well, landscape pieces in the past as well, and that works really well too, because some of them have a bigger battery pack if I'm doing a bigger piece, and you can have a kind of a landscape piece with a tree that has the lights on it, and you can put the battery pack in different places within the landscape piece. So I did a piece that had like some blocks that looked like Stonehenge, like little Stonehenge formations with this big tree coming out. I'll post a picture of that on here on the video as well. You can see that for additional ideas of what you can do with this. This is just the most basic kind of variation of this project that I've done, and it's one of the first ones that I did, and it kind of inspired me to start doing more stuff like this. There we go. So now that's got a little mossy base. I may even add some moss up here. You can never go wrong with moss. It also helps cover up the wires. And the lights will tend to shine through this anyways. If you cover up a light, then it doesn't matter. With a tree this size especially, there's 20 LEDs on that strand of lights, so you're gonna have plenty of lights anyways. Oh, I just cracked one of my leaves. Those fall leaves, the real leaves that are dried, are very brittle, so they break very easily, unfortunately. I wish there was a way to make those stronger, but there's not really. Some of the trees, when you try and replicate what you see in nature, you go into the forest here and you see these trees. And some of the trees they're completely covered in this stuff. So to be adding just a little bit to some branches, you know, works. Yeah. There, and that's starting to look really nice. Got a really old kind of a look to it. And now I think this is dry enough down here we can add the circle at the bottom. I'm going to add some glue in under here and tuck that in. And there you go. We have our tree. Turn that on. Our lights. We got the lights, and it looks I think it looks really beautiful. Looks very ancient and old and kind of magical. The moss growing on it, and makes a great night light for your kids' room. So I hope you had fun with that, and stay tuned on the channel. I'm going to be posting a whole bunch of new videos, some big projects, some small ones, and give you a lot of ideas to do during this pandemic crisis. We hope it doesn't go on too long, but regardless, even after the crisis is over, then you'll have a bunch of great new things that you can do with your kids, and you get more and more ideas the more you do them, and you can do so many things with this. It's just so much fun and so creative, and I think their projects come out looking really beautiful. They're very inexpensive, and you can do a lot of stuff with recycling and using little pieces of nature that just preserving them, like a little branch and some leaves, you know, and comes out really, really nice. So hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe, stay tuned, and we'll post some more videos next time. Thanks.